Welcome, Slayers, to another episode of DARKTIMES, Debriefed, your behind-the-scenes look at how the ultimate Brawler Royale is being built. DARKTIMES has been in development since 2022 in partnership with Blowfish Studios, a team with deep experience shipping high-quality games. These updates are based directly on the internal development logs. They're raw, unfiltered, and designed to give you a clearer view into what's happening during each sprint. This episode covers the 2-week sprint ending on Friday the 22nd of August, 2025, and includes build versions 18.8 and 18.9. Let's kick off with the lead developer. This sprint work focused on eliminating a long-standing issue with player progression. The bug? Not all members of a winning team were being marked as qualified for the next round. Last sprint, the investigation began. But this sprint, the logic was rewritten so all players on a winning team are now recognized correctly, even when players are eliminated mid-match. The major win. Matchmaking has been corrected to display the full list of players during transitions, fixing previous gaps. But a blocker also emerged. While digging into the qualification logic, a deeper issue was uncovered in how players were eliminated. Sometimes, the logic for marking a player as eliminated wasn't firing, which caused inconsistencies when checking which players should move forward. That system is now under review, but we expect to cover it. On to the senior developer. 2 core issues were tackled: execution visibility and player eliminations. In competitive matches with 6 players, eliminated players weren't seeing the execution sequence. That's now been fixed, so eliminated players can spectate executions properly. Next, player eliminations weren't always working. Previously, the system was unclear. Now, the logic has been updated to trigger correct feedback for eliminated players. The senior dev also worked on a scheduler bug, where matches timed out incorrectly. Fixes to the scheduler logic and match config screen were implemented and validated. The major wins: a fully functioning scheduler UI and a stable spectator implementation for executions. Minor blockers remain, particularly around refining the match qualification logic. At times, eliminated players were incorrectly flagged as still active, and that needs further cleanup. Back-end developer next. 2 key initiatives this sprint: back-end improvements to multiplayer hosting and updates to the match reporting system. On multiplayer hosting, improvements were made to the queue portal and back-end services to ensure that tournament logic runs consistently. The goal was to improve server integrity during ranked matches. Then, on match reporting, output for individual player performance was missing from post-match reports. That's now been restored in production. The queue portal also received updates. It now displays tournament and match progression states correctly, and bugs where screens showed conflicting data have been resolved. The major win here: ranked lobbies now show correct player counts, tournament state, and post-match results across both development and production environments. No major blockers reported. Let's move to game design. The team focused heavily on spawn point logic, particularly on the river and village maps. Previously, the river map had a spawn bug, where one team was spawning dangerously close to the other. This was fixed, and more realistic weapon spawn placements were implemented to reduce early imbalance. Then, on the village map, perimeter collision hadn't been activated when the map was opened up. That's now fixed, preventing players from falling off the edge of the world. Spawn points in the village were also reviewed to avoid spawn trapping. Several spawn locations have been shifted to avoid players being attacked before they can move. The major win: a long-standing river spawn point issue was resolved. It turned out that only 2 players were being spawned near the loot goblin, giving one team a major advantage. The new spawn logic addresses that. The main blocker? While not technically a blocker, poor spawn placements had been severely impacting gameplay balance for weeks. That's now under control, and things are looking good. And finally, QA testing. This sprint covered thorough testing across both builds. Let's start with week 1. Fixed items included: world UI color correction on the river level, final execution animations triggering correctly, loot goblin behavior, elimination logic, disconnections when exiting post-death states, and transition animations during match ends. However, several issues remained unresolved, but we expect to work through them rapidly. Eliminated players still weren't seeing execution sequences. Spectator transitions were inconsistent. Rapid zone deaths lacked proper animation feedback, and players were occasionally falling through the map on death. Stagger animations caused clipping when combo hits landed. Match loading screens sometimes locked on a blank transition screen, and stamina was consumed even when charged attacks were cancelled. Week 2 focused on verifying fixes and uncovering back-end issues. Village perimeter collisions were retested and confirmed working. Player eliminations and execution camera logic were still inconsistent, but better. Testing also revealed failures in the reporting system, especially when multiple players disconnected mid-match. This is now being triaged with back-end support. Additional notes: spawn logic is still buggy on the river map when teams rotate. A no-winner state was encountered during one tournament, likely due to incorrect qualification logic. And visual clipping on cosmetics, especially cloaks and large weapons, remains an issue. Major wins across the sprint were around execution visibility, loot goblin stability, spawn fixes, and scheduler transitions. No catastrophic blockers, but plenty of areas flagged for polish and stability testing. Overall, this sprint was focused on tournament logic, elimination clarity, execution visibility, back-end hosting reliability, and environmental spawn balance. Coming up next, deeper logic cleanup on team progression, player elimination states, and persistent bugs in the kill feed and scoreboard. Thanks for watching Dark Times Debriefed. To join the conversation, head to discord.gg/darktimes. We'll see you next time, Slayers.